Bala Kandam. Narada describes Rama as the perfect man, endued with various qualities such as bravery, patience, intelligence, and truthfulness. He was exiled by his father Dakratha to please his wife Kaikeyi, later defeated Ravana in battle and recovered Sita. After regaining his kingdom, Rama ruled justly for 8 years and died a revered king, with his subjects living happily ever after. Reading the Ramayana, which is described as sin-destroying and merit-bestowing, brings blessings to those who read it. Valmiki, a pious sage, witnessed a fowler kill a croncha bird. Moved by pity, he composed a verse, sloka, condemning the deed. Later, Brahma appeared, praised the sloka, and commissioned Valmiki to compose the entire Ramayana epic in that meter. Valmiki accepted and began composing the story of Rama's life, which will spread as long as mountains and seas exist. Valmiki, seated in contemplation, observed a vision of Rama's story unfold before him. He then recorded the history of Rama's life, including his birth, prowess, kindness, and good deeds, as well as his struggles against Ravana and the eventual recovery of Sita and defeat of Ravana. Valmiki composed the Ramayana, consisting of the slokas and divided into 6 kandas. He taught it to his pupils Kusa and Lava, who were well versed in music and poetry. The brothers performed the epic in front of a gathering of ascetics, who praised their performance and offered them gifts. Later, Rama recognized them as his sons and had them perform the Ramayana in his court, where it was well received by the assembly. The city Ayodhya, capital of the kingdom of Koshala, is a thriving metropolis founded by Manu. It is a beautiful and prosperous city, 10 yojanas long, and well-planned roads, shops and gardens. King Dakratha rules over the city, which is filled with skilled artisans, brahmanas and warriors. King Dasaratha ruled Ayodhya, a city filled with righteous and happy inhabitants. The people were well versed in the Vedas, performed sacrifices and lived modestly. The 4 social classes were harmonious, with Brahmanas leading the way. The city was governed by Dasaratha's wise leadership, ensuring peace and prosperity for its citizens. King Dakratha had 8 wise counselors and numerous other advisors who helped him govern the kingdom justly. They were learned, modest and skilled in policy, using spies to gather intelligence and protecting their subjects. Under their guidance, the king ruled with wisdom, peace and prosperity, becoming famous throughout the world. King Dasaratha, without an heir, decides to perform a horse sacrifice to obtain sons. He consults with his brahmanas and ministers who advise him on how to proceed with the ceremony. The king orders his officials to prepare for the sacrifice, which will take place on the north bank of the Sarayu river. The king's charioteer tells King Dakratha about an ancient story where Romapada, king of Angas, faces a severe drought and seeks a solution from Brahmanas. They advise him to bring Rishyashinga, son of Bibhandaka, and marry his daughter Santa to the young Brahma, who will help the king obtain a son. The king of Ayodhya instructed his priest and courtiers to bring Rishyashinga, a powerful Brahmin ascetic, to the city by sending courtesans to lure him away from his hermitage. The plan succeeded, and Rishyashinga was brought to the city where he married the king's daughter Santa and lived in comfort, ending a period of drought caused by Indra's wrath.
King Dakratha, advised by Sumantra, seeks to obtain a son through the help of the sage Rishyasringa.
The king travels to meet Romapada, where he finds Rishyasringa and his wife Santa. After spending time with them, Dakratha invites them to join him in his city, where they are received with great honor and festivities. King Dashratha, desiring a son to perpetuate his line, decides to perform a horse sacrifice. He appoints a Brahmana, Rishyasringa, to conduct the ceremony and orders provisions and preparations. The Brahmanas, including Vasistha, assure him of success, and the king instructs his ministers to carry out the rituals according to tradition, emphasizing the importance of flawlessness to avoid retribution from learned spirits. The puissant king, intent on getting offspring through a horse sacrifice, consulted Vasistha, who agreed to perform the sacrifice. The king ordered thousands of people to prepare for the ceremony, and Vasistha summoned various monarchs from different countries to attend. With everything in place, the king arrived at the sacrificial ground accompanied by his wives and was initiated into the ceremony with Rishyasringa leading the Brahmanas. King Dakratha's mighty horse sacrifice was performed on the north bank of the Sarayu river, led by Rishyasringa and Brahmanas. The ceremony lasted 3 days with various rituals and oblations offered to deities. The king bestowed land grants on his priests, who were gratified and blessed him, predicting that he would have 4 sons to perpetuate his line. Brahma is asked to help King Dashratha obtain sons through a ceremony, but Brahma decides that Vishnu must be born as 4 human sons to kill Vana, a demon who has been oppressing gods and mortals. Vishnu agrees and divides himself into 4 parts, choosing King Dashratha as his father. The gods praise Vishnu's decision, singing hymns in anticipation of his victory over Ravana. Vishnu assumes human form to destroy Ravana, who had performed penances to gain immunity from all beings, except humans. Vishnu chooses King Dashratha as his father and is born through the king's wives after they drink a divine payasa, a milk-based dessert given by him. This event leads to the birth of Lord Rama, the son of King Dashratha. Here is a summary of the text in Chaldesape words. The gods, led by Brahma, created powerful beings with monkey form to assist Lord Vishnu. These beings, including sons of Indra, son Vrihaspati, and other gods, were born with incredible strength and abilities. They became leaders of monkey herds inhabiting mountains and forests, preparing to aid Rama. King Dakratha completes his horse sacrifice and initiates his sons Rama, Bharata, Lakshmana, and Satrughna, who are born with divine qualities. The king celebrates their birth and naming ceremony and later invites the ascetic Viswamitra to Ayodhya for a visit, which brings great joy and prosperity to the kingdom. Viswamitra, a powerful ascetic, requests King Dasaratha to send his son Rama to protect his sacrifice from 2 demon brothers, Mariche and Suvihu. Viswamitra promises that Rama will defeat the demons and gain great honor, and urges the king to grant his request for the sake of his own merit and fame. The king is torn between his love for Rama and his duty to the ascetic. King Dasaratha is hesitant to let his 4-year-old son Rama fight the Rakshasas led by Ravana due to his youth and inexperience. The sage Vishwamitra tries to persuade him to let Rama go, but Dasaratha refuses, saying he cannot face Ravana himself. He asks Vishwamitra how anyone can defeat the powerful Rakshasa lord. Kikaka's son becomes angry when Rama is asked to leave, calling him false in promise. The wise sage Vasishtha intervenes, citing Rama's virtues and abilities and urging the king not to renounce his word. He reminds the king that Rama is capable of protecting himself against the Rakshas. King Dakratha hands Rama over to Vaishisha, who teaches him mantras and sciences from the Vala and Ativala collections. These teachings grant Rama invincibility and unmatched abilities in various fields. With his newfound powers, Rama appears resplendent. The brothers spend a pleasant night on the Sarayo's banks before continuing their journey with Vaishishta. Rama and Lakshmana met Vikamitra, an ascetic with great wealth who guided them to a sacred hermitage belonging to Shiva. The hermitage was home to ascetics who had been performing austerities for thousands of years. After visiting the hermitage, Rama and his brother spent a night there enjoying hospitality from the ascetics and experiencing evening prayers. Rama, accompanied by Vikamitra and other ascetics, crosses the Manasa pool which flows into the Sarayu river. They then encounter a dreadful forest infested with ferocious beasts and birds. Vikamitra explains that this forest was once two prosperous provinces but is now ruled by the wicked Yakshini Taraka, who must be slain by Rama to rid the region of her terrorizing presence. Raghava questions the strength of a female Yaksha, Taraka, who was given immense power by Brahma but later cursed to become a malevolent being. Vikamitra commands Rama to kill her for the welfare of Brahmins and cows, citing the precedent of other rulers slaying wicked women in the past, such as Sakra's destruction of Manthara. Rama, determined to kill Taraka, a demon protected by her femininity, resists her attempts to destroy him and his brother Lakshmana. After being outmaneuvered by Taraka's illusions, Rama slays her with arrows. Pleased, the gods reward Vikamitra for guiding Rama and bestow upon him 3 powerful sons from Prajapati Krikakva. Vikamitra, a powerful ascetic, confers various celestial weapons on Raghava, including discuses, chakras, maces and darts, making him invincible in battle. Vikamitra then recites mantras and the weapons appear before Rama. The weapons, pleased with their new master, pledge to carry out his wishes. Rama accepts then, and here is a concise summary in 4 words. Kakutstha. Rishin full weapons from Visiv's powerful weapons from an Isar mantra. The weapons manifest with human forms and promise to aid Rama. He then asks about auscultation. Rama also inquires about dress. Here is a summary of the text in Tatsase words. Vikamitra tells Rama about Vishnu's asceticism in Siddhakrama, where he dwelled for centuries. He was asked by the gods to assume a dove form and take Vali's portion of earth, which he did to help the celestials. Vikamitra then invites Rama and Lakshmana to Rama and Lakshmana guard the hermitage for 6 nights, protecting the ascetic Vikamitra from demons. When the Rakshasas Mariche and Suvahu attack, Rama uses powerful magic arrows to demon sacrifice and earning praise from the saints, including Vikvamitra. Rama and Lakshmana meet the saint Vikvamitra, who invites them to attend a sacrifice at Mithila. They depart with Vaikumitra and other sages, followed by devotees. Along the way, Rama asks Vaikvamitra about the region they are traveling through. Meanwhile, a story is told of a king's daughters who refuse to marry Air, the deity of the wind, leading to their punishment. King Kukanabha's daughters are treated poorly by Air, but their father forgives him. The king then decides to marry his daughters off to Brahmadatta, a pious ascetic who has been granted a righteous son through his Brahmya austerities. Brahmadatta marries the 100 daughters and cures them of their crookedness, restoring their beauty. Vikvamitra, a mighty ascetic, tells Rama about his lineage. Born from Kuka and descended from Gadi, he mentions his sister Kaushiki, who became a river, and explains why he came to Siddhakrama to compete. His sacrifice takes place at night with the moon rising and various nocturnal creatures active in the background. Vikvamitra tells Rama about the Ganga's origin. Himavat, the king of mountains, has two daughters, Ganga and Yuma. The gods asked Himavat for Ganga to help their work, so he gave her to them. Uma adopted austerities as her wealth and was given to Rudra by Himavat. Vikvamitra recounts the story of Mahadeva and Uma to Rama and Lakshmana. Mahadeva's vital fluid created a mountain, a forest of reeds, and Kartikeya, but his wife was still childless after the gods asked him to practice austerities with Uma, and they had Kartikeya and Bhagirathi. Ganga, however, the mountain her daughter for not granting her son, leading Mahadeva to perform austerity. The gods, led by Indra and Agni, approached Brahma seeking a solution to their problem of having no sons. They were told that Ganga would give birth to a son through Agni's energy, and the embryo was born with divine power, causing metals to form on earth. The child Kartikeya, also known as Skanda, was suckled by the Kritikas. Sagara, king of Ayodhya, performed up austerities and was granted a boon by the sage Bhrigu. He would have glorious offspring and fame, with one wife bearing a single son to perpetuate his line, and the other giving birth to 12 sons. However, Sagara's eldest son, Asamanja's behavior became wicked, causing him to be banished from the city. Rama asks sage Vikvamitra about his ancestor Sagara's sacrifice. Vikvamitra tells Rama that Sagara sacrificed the entire earth, including mountains and oceans, to find the stolen sacrificial horse, disturbing gods, asuras, and other creatures in the process. The grandsire informs the celestial gods that Vasudeva, in the form of Kapila, sustains the earth. Sagara's sons excavate the earth to find the stolen horse, but instead encounter 4 mighty elephants holding the earth. They eventually discover Vasudeva and his horse and are reduced to ashes by his wrath. King Sagara sends his grandson Ankumat to investigate the disappearance of his uncles and the sacrificial horse. Ankumat encounters various creatures on the path, including an elephant, who informs him that his uncles were consumed by Kapila for the greater good. Ankumat retrieves grandfather's sacrifice. Bhagirath, King Dilipa's son, performed severe austerities to bring down the Ganga river from heaven. Brahma agreed to grant his wish and instructed Shiva to hold Ganga on his head. After years, Bhagiratha's efforts were released Ganga, who flowed onto the earth, washing away Vashigas of Sagaras, Chaigara's sons, and purifying them. King Bhagiratha arrives at the ocean with Ganga's waters, and upon washing away the ashes of his ancestors' sons, Brahma informs him that they have been delivered to heaven, performs oblations, and Peoras himself then returns home to rule prosperously and bring peace to his kingdom. Rama and Lakshmana are amazed by Vikvamitra's story of Ganga's descent into the ocean. The next morning, they cross over the river with Vikvamitra and enter the city of Vaikala. Rama asks about its royal line, and Vikvamitra recounts a mythological story of how the gods, churning the ocean, created ambrosia and various. Diti, grieving over her son's death, asked Kasyapa for a son who could kill Sakra. Kashyapa agreed and rubbed Diti's body with his palm to fertilize her womb. As she practiced austerities, Sakra served her, rubbing her person and removing fatigue. However, when 10 years remained before the 1,000-year period was complete, Sakra secretly pierced the embryo. Diti, aggrieved by her mistake that caused the embryo to be sundered into 7 parts, pleads with Indra to allow them to become guardians of the Merats. Indra agrees, and Diti's sons become powerful beings ranging across various. The text then jumps to a conversation between Rama and Vikvamitra in Vikala city. The sons of Dashratha meet Vikvamitra and are welcomed as guests. The ascetic tells them about an ancient hermitage at Mithila, once owned by Gautama, who was wronged by Indra's deceitful form. Gautama curses Indra to lose his scrotumness until Rama arrives. Sakra, the 1,000-eyed deity, had his scrotum removed by Gautama's curse. The celestials did it by joining it to a ram's scrotum, which they presented to Indra. Meanwhile, Ahalya, purified from her sin, was reunited with Gautama and honored by the celestials. Rama received the blessings before departing for Mithila. Ahalya. Rama and Lakshmana arrive at the sacrificial ground for Janaka's sacrifice. The ascetic Vikvamitra welcomes them and arranges for their abode. Janaka greets Vikvamitra and asks about Rama and Lakshmana, who are described as heroic and resembling immortals. Vikvamitra tells Janaka about Rama and Lakshmana's adventures in Mithila. Satat Nanda, the eldest son of Gautama, is astonished by Rama's presence. Vikvamitra, a powerful ascetic, explains that Rama has been warned about his mother's past encounter with praises Rama and invites him to hear the story of his ancestor Kauchika, who was a mighty king and ascetic. Vikvamitra, a powerful king and ascetic, visits Vasishtha's hermitage, where he is warmly welcomed and entertained with food and hospitality. The two engage in conversation, exchanging questions about each other's well-being. Vikvamitra accepts Vasishtha's hospitality, and the hermit's sacrificial cow is summoned to provide guest. Vikvamitra requests Vasishtha's servant Savala as payment for 100,000 kine. Vasishtha refuses, stating that Savala is essential to his well-being and daily rituals and cannot be parted with. Vikvamitra offers various gifts in exchange, but Vasishtha remains firm in his refusal, valuing Savala above all material wealth. Vikvamitra, a powerful king, was carrying away Savala, a devoted servant of the ascetic Vasishtha. However, Savala suspected she had been abandoned by Vasishtha and rushed back to him. Vasishtha explained that he couldn't defend her against Vikvamitra's might, but Savala boasted of the Brahman's superior power and challenged Vasishtha to command her to create. Vikvamitra's army was destroyed by Vasishtha's powers. Vikvamitra then performed penance to obtain archery skills from Vrishadwaja, a god. With newfound abilities, Vikvamitra attacked Vasishtha's hermitage with deadly weapons, but Vasishtha, enraged, upraised a staff that resembled Yama's mace, ready to strike Vikvamitra down. Vikvamitra, a powerful Kshatriya, attacks Vasishtha with various divine weapons but is thwarted by the latter's Brahma staff. Enraged, Vikvamitra discharges a powerful Brahma weapon but Vasishtha again prevails. Eventually, Vikvamitra acknowledges defeat and vows to practice austere penance to earn Brahmanahood. Here is a concise summary in Chalazoharsi words. Vikvamitra, after making an enemy of Vasishtha, performed severe penances for 1,000 years. He was recognized as a Rajarshi by Brahma and accompanied with the gods to heaven. However, Vikvamitra felt that his asceticism had no real value, so he engaged in King Trisanku's 100 sons curse him, saying he will become a Chandala, outcast, due to his disrespect towards their father. The king falls into Chandalahood and seeks help from the ascetic Vikvamitra, who is sympathetic but also skeptical of the king's intentions, leading to a plea for assistance. Vikvamitra's sons and disciples gather the Brahmins to perform a sacrifice for Rama, but Vasishtha's sons refuse due to Rama's Chandala status. Vikvamitra, enraged, curses them to be born as outcasts, suffering for secular lives, while Mahodaya will undergo Nishadahood, a life of asceticism, and become cruel. Vikvamitra, a powerful ascetic, vows to take Trisanku, a king, bodily to heaven through his own self-earned asceticism. After several attempts and curses from the gods, Vikvamitra's vow is honored by the deities, allowing Trisanku to dwell in heaven as an immortal, accompanied by stars created by Vikvamitra. Vikvamitra's party leaves the forest after saints depart. King Ambarisha searches for a sacrificial beast to lend Stolai, Tenda, and offers riches to Richika for selling one of his sons as a chit. Initially refusing, Richika's youngest son Sunita is not sold, but their second son Sunasefa volunteers to be taken by the king in exchange for vast wealth. Sunasefa, an illustrious king, seeks protection from his maternal uncle Vikvamitra after being abandoned by his family. Vikvamitra agrees to help and sacrifice with Agni's aid, resulting in his attainment of long life and the king's successful completion of the ritual. Vikvamitra, a mighty ascetic, is distracted by Menaka, an Apsara, and his austerity is hindered for 5 years. He then renounces her and engages his severe penances on the northern mountains, but still fails to subdue his senses. The celestials confer upon him the title of Maharshi after he continues his austerities, sadhatis for 1,000 years. Indra sends Rambha to seduce the ascetic Vikvamitra, but her attempt backfires when he becomes enraged and curses her to remain as a stone for, distilled with remorse. Vikvamitra vows to lead a life of self-denial, suspending his breath and abstaining from food until he attains Brahmanahood through austerities. Vikwamitra, a powerful ascetic, performs austerities in the eastern direction for 86 years, remaining silent till the gods try to persuade him, but he remains steadfast. Eventually, the gods grant his wish for Brahmanahood and long life, and Vikwamitra is recognized as a great sage by Brahma's son Vasistha. He then travels the Janaka, king of Mithila, welcomes the visiting sage Vikwamitra and Raghava. Janaka explains that he is testing Rama's worthiness to marry his daughter Sita by offering her as a prize for anyone who can string the divine bow. Many kings have failed to bend it, but Janaka hopes Rama will succeed. Here is a summary of the text in Sargi Nordische words. King Janaka presents the divine bow to Rama, challenging anyone who can string it. Rama easily takes hold of the bow, fixes the string, and snaps it in two, producing a loud sound that shakes the earth. Impressed, Janaka decides to give his daughter Sita to Rama. The envoys from Mithila arrive at Ayodhya and inform King Dashratha about Janaka's wish to bestow his daughter Sita on Rama. After witnessing his prowess, the king is delighted by the prospect of an alliance with Janaka and decides to send a delegation to Mithila the next day. King Dakratha arrives at Videha, where King Janaka welcomes him with honors. Janaka invites Dakratha to perform a sacrifice and nuptials with his daughters the next day, accompanied by holy men. Dakratha agrees, and both kings pass the night in joyous company. Janaka sends a message to his brother Kusadhwaja in Sankakya, asking him to come for a sacrifice. Kusadhwaja arrives in Janaka, king of Ayodhya, to the ceremony. Vasistha relates the genealogy of Ikshvaku's lineage, tracing it back to Manu and Brahma. The purpose is to secure brides from Mithila for Rama and Lakshmana, sons of Dakratha. Janaka explains his royal lineage to Vasistha, tracing back 10 generations of kings from Nimi to himself. He then offers daughters Sita and Yormila as wives to Rama and Lakshmana with the promise of performing their marriage ceremony on their the Aguna is ascendant. Vikwamitra and Vasistha ask Janaka for his daughters to marry Rama's brothers, Bharata and Satrughna. Janaka agrees, considering it a blessing that such powerful sages desire an alliance with his family. The marriage is planned and the kings perform rituals and give away cattle as gifts to Brahmanas to ensure good fortune for their sons. King Dakratha's sons, including Rama, arrive at Mithila for a wedding ceremony with the daughters of King Janaka. Vasistha performs the nuptial ceremonies and after obtaining the king's permission, hands over Sita to Rama as his partner in duty. The other brothers also receive their brides from Janaka and all 4 couples enter into matrimony according music. King Dashratha prepares to leave for his capital with Mithila's Lord Vaideha. On their way, they are joined by saints and attendants. Suddenly, a strong wind blows, causing chaos, but Vasistha reassures the king that it is a sign of peace. They soon encounter Rama, Jamadagni's son, who has come to earth with his axe and bow. The powerful son of Jamadagni, Parashurama, arrives at the court of King Dakratha to challenge Rama and test his strength. He offers Rama a bow of immense power, which was previously owned by Vishnu and had defeated Rudra in a contest. If Rama can stretch this bow, Parashurama will offer him combat. But if Rama, enraged by Bhargava's insults, takes up Brig's bow and shoots an arrow capable of conquering hostile towns. The celestials and saints gather to witness Rama's feat, while Bhargava is reduced to nothingness due to his energy being dispelled. He acknowledges defeat and departs for the Mahendra mountain. After Rama's departure, King Dakrata returns to Ayodhya with his army and is welcomed by the citizens. He rejoices at being reunited with his son Bharata, who had been appointed regent while Rama was away. Rama resumes his duties as king, delighting both his father and the people with his wise and compassionate leadership. King Dakrata, proud of his son Rama's exceptional qualities, wishes to see him installed as heir apparent. He gathers nobles and prime ministers to confer the dignity on Rama, hoping it will dispel his grief and bring prosperity to the people. The king praises Rama's virtues, comparing him to gods and great heroes. Here is a summary of the text in Sosantisi words. King Dashratha announces his desire to retire, installing Rama as heir apparent. The princes and courtiers praise Rama's virtues, listing his strengths, kindness, wisdom, and bravery. They unanimously urge the king to install Rama immediately, describing him as a celestial being. King Dasaratha welcomes a delegation of Brahmins who have come to witness the installation of his son Rama as heir apparent. The king orders preparations for the ceremony, which includes of thousands of Brahmanas and preparing various gifts and decorations. Rama is then brought before his father, who welcomes him warmly and installs him as humility. Here is a concise summary of Charisa words. King Dakrata decides to install Rama as heir apparent due to his impending death and ominous dreams. He instructs Rama to fast with Sita that night and be installed the next day during the Pushya conjunction. Rama's mother Kaukalya is overjoyed at the news, while Lakshmana expresses eagerness to rule by Rama's side. Rama and his wife Sita perform evening rituals, including oblations to fire and meditation on Narayana. With the city decorated for Rama's installation, as heir apparents fasting with Sita and await the ceremony, the city fills with people from various regions eager to witness the event. Manthara, a maidservant, tells Kaikeyi about her good fortune as the mother of Rama, who is to be installed as heir apparent by King Dashratha. Manthara's words inflame Kaikeyi with anger and grief, causing her to realize that her own son Bharata will be displaced from his rightful place in the kingdom. Kaikeyi then shows gratitude towards Manthara for Kaikeyi's nurse is upset about Rama's installation as king and warns Kaikeyi of impending grief. Kaikeyi defends Rama, saying he is deserving of the kingdom due to his virtues. Manthara responds by predicting that Bharata will be excluded from the royal line and advises Kaikeyi to take action to save her son from being overthrown by Rama. Kaikeyi, angry and influenced by Manthara, demands that King Dashratha exile Rama to the forest for 30 years and install Bharata as Herava. She plans to use the 2 boons granted by her husband during a war against the Asuras to achieve this goal. Kaikeyi's pride and admiration for Manthara lead her to follow her wicked advice despite its cruel consequences. King Dasaratha enters his inner apartment to inform Queen Kaikeyi about Rama's installation but finds her lying on the ground in anger. He gently passes his hand over her and asks what is wrong, but she reveals a selfish intention to secure a boon for herself, which will ultimately lead to Rama's exile. Kaikeyi manipulates King Dashratha into granting her two boons he previously promised her. She asks him to install her son Bharata as heir apparent and exile Rama, his eldest son, to the forest for children. The king, under her influence, agrees to grant these boons. King Dashratha is devastated by Kaikeyi's demand to banish Rama, his beloved son, to the forest for 30 years. He questions her motives and warns her that such an act will bring shame and ruin to their family, but she remains resolute. The king, overcome with grief, falls into a swoon. King Dashratha, distraught over banishing Rama, begs Kaikeyi not to pursue her demand. He fears being shamed by heaven's inhabitants and losing his son. Despite his pleas, Kaikeyi remains resolute, and the king falls into a faint from grief as night descends. Kaikeyi, frustrated with King Dashratha's refusal to banish Rama, urges him to fulfill his promise and install Bharata as king instead of Rama. The king, overcome by grief and guilt, renounces Kaikeyi's hand and her son Bharata. Meanwhile, Vasishtha, the high priest, arrives in Ayodhya with all preparations. Sumantra, the charioteer, attempts to persuade the king. The Brahmana, counselors, commanders, merchants and royal priests waited at the palace gate for Rama's installation. Charioteer Sumantra arrived and informed them he would bring Rama to the assembly. Sumantra arrives at Rama's apartment to inform him that his father and Kaikeyi are waiting to see him. Rama, accompanied by Sita, leaves for the meeting where he will be installed as heir apparent. Rama, with friends delighted, enters the city on a decorated chariot. The road is filled with scents, flowers, and food, and people from all castes offer benedictions to Rama. Installed Singh, he proceeds to his father's palace, where he is welcomed by his followers who are eager for his return. Rama visits his father, King Dasaratha, who is ill, and sought Sati Ija that she has asked for two boons: Rama's exile to the forest, Sarvas Taiki Riznuate Sishyan Bas king. The king is bound by a promise to grant his boons, which he cannot revoke due to his fear. Rama, the destroyer of foes, is banished to the forest by his stepmother Kaikeyi, who has manipulated King Dasaratha into ordering his exile. Despite his sorrow, Rama is determined to fulfill his promise and live with humility, even going so far as to offer to give up his kingdom, wife and life. Rama's mother Kausalya learns that her son will be exiled to the forest for so years and begins to lament. She expresses her distress, feeling that her life is empty without Rama and fearing what will happen. She tries to persuade Rama not to go, offering him a seat and food, but Raghava insists on. Lakshmana, distressed by Rama's impending exile, urges Kausalya to secure the kingdom for herself and then to Rama, threatening to depopulate Ayodhya if anyone opposes them. However, Rama insists on following his father's command, citing examples of great heroes who obeyed their fathers. Alamis him thus, despite his mother's despite his Rama persuades Lakshmana to stop preparations for his installation as king and instead prepare him for exile in the forest, citing Kaikeyi's determination as driven by destiny. Rama emphasizes that destiny is beyond human control and that he cannot disobey, urging him to renounce the kingdom. Lakshmana is reluctant to accept Rama's decision to leave the kingdom and go into exile. He argues that Rama's virtue has been misguided by his father's influence, particularly that of Kaikeyi. Lakshmana vows to protect the kingdom and thwart destiny if necessary, but ultimately respects Rama's decision to follow his father's orders. Kausalya, Rama's mother, tries to dissuade him from going into exile, but he insists on fulfilling his father's behests. She is overcome with grief at the thought of separation and asks Rama to take her with him, but he reassures her that she will be well taken care of by his brother Bharata. While he is away, he advises her to focus on worshipping the self. Kausalya, Rama's mother, performs auspicious ceremonies to protect her son before he enters the forest. She invokes various deities, including the Vedas and Brahmans, to safeguard him from harm. With tears in her eyes, she sees Rama off, entrusting his well-being to the gods and his own virtue. Rama has been banished to the forest by his father's promise to Kaikeyi and is now preparing to leave with Sita. Sita is sorrowful and anxious about Rama's departure, but he instructs her to remain in Ayodhya and live a virtuous life, prioritizing Bharata's needs over his own. Rama emphasizes the importance of serving the monarch with good temper and assiduity, and Vaidehi Sita expresses her willingness to accompany Raghava into exile. Despite the hardships and dangers of the forest, she argues that a wife's duty for her husband, even to great distances, and that she would be happy to live in the forest with him, performing austere practices and tending to his needs. Rama, attempting to dissuade Sita from accompanying him to the forest, describes its hardships, including dangers from wild animals, unfavorable climate, and difficulties in finding food and water. He advises her to stay behind for her own welfare, citing numerous miseries that await those living in the forest. Sita, Rama's wife, is anxious to join him in the forest. She believes that being with her husband will bring her protection and happiness. Despite knowing the hardships of living in the forest, Sita convinces herself that she can endure them with Rama by her side. She begs Rama to take her with him, but he refuses, causing Sita to become distraught and tearful. Sita, determined to follow Rama into exile, laments her separation and begs him not to leave without her. She offers to endure hardships and promises to be a source of strength for him in the forest. Moved by her devotion, Rama reassures her that he cannot abandon her and decides to allow her to accompany him to Dandaka forest. Lakshmana wants to accompany Rama into exile in the forest, but Rama tries to dissuade him. Citing concern for their mother's well-being, Lakshmana argues that Bharata will care for them and offers to provide for Rama's needs while they are in the forest, finally persuading Rama to allow him to join. Lakshmana visits Sujajna, a Brahmin, who is invited to Rama's palace. Rama showers him with gifts and asks Lakshmana to distribute wealth among various Brahmins. Dependents, Lakshmana distribute coins including egg, cows, and jewels. A poor Brahm named Trijata also receives a grant of cows after successfully hurling a rod which leads to Ram among the Brahmins. Rama, accompanied by Sita and Lakshmana, sets out to meet his father Dashratha in Ayodhya. The people of the city are grief-stricken at Rama's departure, but he remains calm. At the palace, Rama meets Sumantra, who is also distraught, and instructs him to inform their father of his arrival. Rama, accompanied by his brother Lakshmana and Sita, informs their father King Dashratha that they will depart for the forest as per Kaikeyi's wishes. The king is overcome with grief and sorrow, but Rama reassures him that he will fulfill his promise to live in the forest, for so which he will return. Sumantra scolds Kaikeyi for abandoning King Dashratha and trying to install her son Bharata as king instead of Rama. He warns her that this will bring great shame and that she should consider her husband's wishes, which are paramount. Despite Sumantra's harsh words, Kaikeyi remains unmoved, revealing a hardened resolve to see her plan through. King Dashratha orders his charioteer Sumantra to prepare an army for Rama. While he decides to follow Rama into exile, Kaikeyi opposes this decision, citing a past example of King Sagara banishing his son Asamanja for similar behavior. However, wise counsel from Siddhartha reveals that Asamanja's misdeeds justified his banishment, and Kaikeyi's motives are questioned. The king Rama renounces his royal attire and dons an ascetic garb at Kaikeyi's request. His wife Sita is also asked to wear a similar outfit, causing her distress and shame. Preceptor Vasistha intervenes, advising that Rama must be allowed to go to the forest with Sita, as she will occupy his throne and rule alongside him. Rama's father, King Dasharatha, is outraged when Sita dons an ascetic disguise. He banishes all regard for life, virtue, and fame, and reprimands his wife Kaikeyi for her request that Rama be exiled to the forest in accompany him with minimal provisions. King Dasharatha, overcome by grief, realizes his banishment of Rama is punishment for his past transgressions. He orders Sumantra to take Rama into exile and provide Sita with ornament. Kausalya encourages Sita to remain loyal to Rama, and the king's wives lament their separation from him. Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana bid farewell to their family members in Ayodhya, including Rama's mother Kausalya, before embarking on a Ekchatinu erupts into chaos as the people mourn the departure of Raghava, with even the king Dasaratha falling senseless from grief. The queens of Ayodhya lament Rama's departure to the forest, striking the city with grief. The earth itself seems affected, with sun, moon, and stars veiled, and even the natural order disrupted. People abandon their daily lives, seeking only to remember Rama and console each other in their sorrow. King Dashratha is grief-stricken upon learning that his son Rama has left for the forest. As per Kaikeyi's demand, he renounces Kaikeyi and orders his due rites to be performed without his involvement. The king's sorrow is overwhelming as he remembers Rama, envisioning him struggling in the wilderness, and plans his departure from Ayodhya. Hastening him, Kausalya laments her son Rama's exile to the forest, fearing Kaikeyi will become powerful and threatening. She hopes for his return with Sita and Lakshmana, bringing joy to Ayodhya and its people, but is consumed by grief at their separation. Sumitra consoles Kausalya, assuring her that Rama will fulfill his vow and return to Ayodhya as king. She praises Rama's virtues, saying he is invincible and will bring prosperity to the kingdom. Sumitra encourages Kausalya to trust in Rama's goodness and promises she will soon see him return, bringing joy and relief to their family.
Rama, accompanied by Sita and Lakshmana, is on his way to the forest after being exiled. The people of Ayodhya, including elderly Brahmanas, follow him and beg him not to leave. Rama is moved by their tears and decides to walk among them on foot, unable to bear the thought of parting from them.
Rama and Sita spent their first night in exile on the banks of the Tamasa river. The next morning, Rama wanted to leave, but decided to deceive the citizens of Ayodhya by pretending to go north when actually heading towards the forest. He instructed his charioteer, Sumantra, to drive north for a while before turning back in order to conceal their true destination. The citizens of Ayodhya were devastated when Raghava, Rama, departed into exile. They searched for him, but to no avail. Overwhelmingly, they lamented and considered self-immolation or abandoning the city. Eventually, they returned home only to be overcome by sorrow upon seeing their empty streets and homes. Here is a summary of the text in Chaitavadser words. The women of Ayodhya are devastated by Rama's exile. They lament and weep, questioning the usefulness of their wealth and comforts without Rama. They urge their husbands to follow Rama into the forest, believing that he will bring prosperity and protection. The city is plunged into darkness and mourning. Rama travels through a prosperous region. Hearing villagers criticize his father's decision to exile him, he crosses several rivers and enters new lands. Reminiscing about hunting with his parents, Rama expresses longing for future hunts in the Sarayu forest, reflecting on its history and cultural significance as a pastime of the Rajarshis. Rama travels to Ayodhya after meeting his brother Lakshmana at Kokala. They pass through the city, which is described as prosperous and beautiful, before arriving at the Ganga river near Shringaverapura. Thus, the city named which with a king named Guha, who offers him food and shelter. Lakshmana is unwilling to sleep while his brother Rama lies on the ground with Sita as he fears for their safety. He laments that their father's banishment will soon lead to his death and the kingdom's destruction. God tries to comfort Lakshmana but is overcome with grief himself, shedding tears as the day breaks. Rama and his brother Lakshmana, along with Sita, begin their 30-year exile to the forest. Rama's charioteer, Sumantra, is instructed to return to Ayodhya and inform the king hid. Rama's charioteer, Sumantra, is instructed to return to Ayodhya and himself the identities hidden. The identities hidden. Rama addresses Lakshmana about his exile and the consequences for their family. He fears Kaikeyi's influence will lead to further suffering for his mother, Kausalya, and worries that he has abandoned her in her old age. Lakshmana consoles Rama with words of loyalty and devotion, leading Rama to grant him permission. Rama and his companions arrive at Prayaga, where they meet ascetic Bharadwaja. After meeting Rama, Bharadwaja offers them hospitality and recommends the mountain Chitrakuta as a suitable place for them to reside during their exile. Rama accepts the recommendation and decides to proceed to Kuta with Sita, who is delighted at the prospect of living in a romantic. Rama, Sita and Lakshmana travel along the Kalindi river after a propitiatory ceremony performed by Maharshi Bharadwaja. They construct a raft and cross the river with Sita praying to Kalindi for safe passage. After crossing, they proceed towards the woods of the Yamuna, where Rama sends Lakshmana ahead with Sita to gather fruits and flowers while he follows behind. Rama, Lakshmana and Sita arrive at Chitrakuta and decide to settle there. Rama instructs Lakshmana to build a dwelling and procure food for worship. They perform rituals including a sacrifice to purify their new home and appease the household gods. The trio finally finds in their new abode. Here is a summary of the text in Tuvin Tarva words. Sumantra returns to Ayodhya after being sent away by Rama, who has departed with Sita. Upon arrival, Sumantra finds the city in mourning and learns that Rama's departure has caused immense grief among the people, and Kausalya, King Dashrath Sumantra, faints upon hearing the news from Sumantra. King Dashratha questions his charioteer Sumantra about Rama's condition after he was banished to the forest. Sumantra describes how Rama, Lakshmana and Sita are living in hardship, adhering to their duties and values despite their difficult circumstances. Rama instructs Sumantra to inform his family and kingdom of his well-being and virtue. The scene ends with Rama, Lakshmana. The king of Ayodhya is overcome with grief after learning that his son Rama has been exiled. The kingdom is in a state of mourning, with trees wilting, rivers drying up. King becomes distraught, lamenting the loss of Rama and unable to bear the thought of living without him. He eventually collapses from grief, causing his wife Kausalya to become evil. Kausalya, overcome with grief, begs the charioteer to take her to Rama's location in the forest. The charioteer, reassured that Sita and Lakshmana are living happily with Rama and Vaidehi is adjusting well to life away from home, convinced by these words, Kausalya momentarily ceases her wailing but soon resumes calling out for her beloved son Raghava. Kausalya laments to her husband Dashratha the consequences of banishing Rama, including their son's suffering and the kingdom's downfall. She argues that Rama's righteousness will not allow him to accept a kingdom already enjoyed by another, citing his powerful nature and adherence to moral principles. Her words leave Dashratha distressed and grief-stricken. The king, grieving over Rama's banishment, becomes distraught and addresses his wife, Kausalya, apologizing for her distress. She forgives him, explaining that a woman's duty is to be devoted to her husband even if he wrongs her. The king's grief temporarily subsides with Kausalya's words, allowing him to fall asleep. King Dashratha is overcome with grief when he remembers that he accidentally killed a forester who came to fetch water for his parents. The king extracts the arrow, but the ascetic shortly after. King Dashratha is devastated and laments the death, realizing the consequences of his thoughtless action. King Dashratha, overcome with grief for his son Rama's banishment, has a flashback memory of mistakenly killing an ascetic and facing the consequences. The ascetic curses him to die from grief for his son, which ultimately leads to King Dashratha's demise. He laments his fate, unable to see Rama again, and passes away, surrounded by his wife.
The royal court was filled with music, dance, and festivities until morning, when the monarch's ladies in waiting discovered he had passed away. Overcome by grief, they wept uncontrollably, joined by other wives and attendants, filling the palace with sorrow and lamentation and plunging the kingdom into distress.
Kaikeyi's cruelty has led to King Dasharatha's ascension to heaven and Rama's exile. Kaukalya is heartbroken, accusing Kaikeyi of destroying the Raghava dynasty. The city of Ayodhya is filled with grief as wives lament their loss and censure Kaikeyi for her role in the king's death. The councillors of Ayodhya gather with the royal priest Vasistha to discuss the kingdom's crisis. Without a king, they argue that social order breaks down and urge Vasistha to select a new king from the descendants of Ikshvaku to restore stability and morality to the kingdom. Vasistha sends envoys to bring Bharata and his brother Satrughna from their uncle's house. The envoys, led by Siddhartha, Vijaya, Jayanta and Akokandana, travel through various regions, crossing rivers and mountains, to reach Girivaraja, where they plan to persuade Bharata to take the throne. Bharata has a disturbing dream in which he sees his father Rama dying or injured in various ways. He is grief-stricken and refuses to join in the merriment with his friends, fearing that one of them will soon meet their demise, including himself. His throat is parched, mind uneasy. Bharata, son of Kaikeyi, is urged by envoys to depart for Ayodhya due to a pressing matter. He receives gifts and farewells from his relatives, including King Kekaya, who gives him wealth, horses and courtiers. Bharata sets out with Satrughna, followed by servants in 100 cars, heading towards Ayodhya amidst haste and anxiety caused by a dream and the urgency of Bharata, son of Rama, returns to Ayodhya after a long journey. He is struck by the city's desolation and omens of ill fortune. The city's empty houses are unswept. Cities empty, houses are unswept, sensing that something is amiss. Bharata returns home to find that his father, King Dasaratha, has died. His mother, Kaikeyi, explains that the king had been exiled by her, and Rama, Bharata's brother, has been banished with Sita and Lakshmana. Bharata is grief-stricken and demands to know why he was not his father's by. Here is a concise summary of Tarajisi words. Bharata, grieving over his father's death and brother Rama's exile, scolds Kaikeyi, accusing her of bringing destruction to the family through her selfish desires. He vows to bring back Rama from the forest despite his mother's disapproval rather than fulfill Kaikeyi himself.
Bharata reproaches his mother Kaikeyi for her role in Rama's exile and his own fate. He accuses her of committing homicide and bringing shame to their family. Bharata vows to fulfill his duties to his father and brother while condemning Kaikeyi to a life of suffering either by entering fire or diving into the forest.
Bharata visits his mother Kaukalya, who has been devastated by Rama's exile. Bharata defends his sins against Kaukalya's accusation and curses Rama's banishment, listing numerous punishments he wishes upon them. Eventually, overcome with grief, Bharata falls to the ground and dies, unable to bear his sorrow. Bharata mourns his father's death with grief. Sage Vasistha advises him to perform funeral rites. Bharata follows his instructions and the rituals are carried out with great solemnity. The king's body is cremated, and his wives and attendants observe a 10-day mourning period in accordance with ancient traditions. After the cremation, Bharata mourns his father's passing and begs for guidance. Vasishtha reminds him to complete the ritual by collecting his father's bones. Satrughna also breaks down but is calmed by Sumantra's words on the inevitability of birth and death. The princes eventually compose themselves to finish the rites. Here is a summary of the text inside the Ise verse. Bharata, grief-stricken over Rama's exile, speaks with his brother Satrughna, who becomes enraged when Kaikeyi, the humpbacked servant woman, appears. Satrughna attacks her, but then spares her life after Bharata intervenes, saying a woman cannot be killed. Manthara V. Bharata is offered the throne after his father's death, but he declines, insisting that his eldest brother Rama should be king. He vows to bring Rama back from exile and rule in his place, earning praise and admiration from the councillors and courtiers. They agreed to prepare for a road to be built into the forest where Rama is living. Here is a summary of the text in Chalashe words. A large group of skilled workers led by Bharata prepares a road for the army. They clear vegetation, build bridges and dig wells to create a beautiful path lined with pavements, trees and flowers, eventually setting up an elaborate encampment that resembles a celestial city. Bharata laments his fate after Rama's banishment, but is consoled by Vasishtha, who summons a gathering of nobles and advisors to the Golden Court. As Bharata arrives, the subjects rejoice, and the court resembles its former glory with Rama present. The scene is filled with descriptions of grandeur and celebration. Bharata, overcome with sorrow, declares that he will follow Rama into exile. He orders his loyal servant Sumantra to gather the army and bring forces to escort him to the forest. The entire assembly, including ears and jars, erupts in joy at Bharata's decision to join Rama. Bharata leads an enormous procession to find Rama, consisting of thousands of cars, elephants, horses, and various professionals. They arrive at the Ganga river near Sringavara Purata, where they halt for the night. Bharata instructs his courtiers to encamp the army, planning to cross the river and offer its water to his deceased father's spirit on the morrow. The Nishada king Gugha, anticipating Bharata's Arvet large army, prepares his troops to defend against them on the banks of the Ganga river. He issues orders for his retainers and youths to be ready to oppose Bharata's passage. Here is a summary of the text in Chasuldi words. Bharata tells Guha he means no harm to Rama and wants to bring him back from exile. Guha praises Bharata's selfless, but their conversation is interrupted by nightfall. Bharata then falls into a state of despair, overcome with grief for his brother Rama and his own situation, losing all. Guha describes the devotion of Lakshmana to Rama, who is worried about his brother's fate in exile. Lakshmana fears for their father's life and the future of Ayodhya, but vows to protect Rama and Sita until they can return home together. With Guha's guidance, they cross the Bhagirathi river into the forest. Bharata, overcome with grief, asks Guha about his brother Rama's whereabouts. Guha explains that he had provided for Rama and Sita's needs, but they adhere to Kshatriya morality by not taking food or water from others. Lakshmana kept watch at night, guarding them like Indra. Bharata visits the site where Rama and Sita slept on the ground. He finds it hard to believe that his brother, a king accustomed to luxury, would lie down on earth. Bharata decides to follow Rama's example and live in the forest, subsisting on fruits and roots to honor his promise to his mother and restore their family's honor. After a night on the Ganga's banks, Rama urges Satrughna to wake goes the army across the river using hundreds of boats and rafts. The army safely reaches the Prayaga woods, where Bharata takes some troops to visit the ascetic Bharadwaja. Rama, disguised as a Brahmin, visits the hermitage of Bharadwaja. Accompanied by Vasishtha, Bharadwaja recognizes Rama and welcomes him warmly, inquiring about his welfare and that of Ayodhya. However, when he suspects that Rama's brother Bharata might be plotting against him, he is reassured that Bharata intends to bring Rama back to the West Bharata to spend. Bharata, son of Kaikeyi, visits ascetic Bharadwaja and is offered hospitality. The ascetic invokes the gods to provide an extravagant feast, including food, drink, and entertainment. The scene transforms into a heavenly vision with abundant wine and sensual pleasures, causing the soldiers to become inebriated. Bharata meets the ascetic Bharadwaja after a night's stay at his hermitage. Bharata asks for directions to Rama's location on Chitrakuta mountain and receives guidance from Bharadwaja. The queen mothers, Kalya, Sumitra, and Kaikeyi approach Bharadwaja in dejection. Bharata expresses sorrow over the banishment of his brother and mother Kaikeyi's role in it. Bharata, accompanied by his massive army and counselors, arrives at Chitrakuta mountain after a long journey. He observes the forest beauty and compares it to Ayodhya. Suspecting the presence of Rama and Lakshmana, Bharata sends soldiers to investigate, who discover smoke and indicates their presence. Rama, a king resembling an immortal, shows his wife Sita the beauty of Chitrakuta mountain. He describes its varied colors, abundance of flowers and fruits, and its scenic vistas. He expresses his desire to live there, free from grief, and fulfill his duties as a king. Rama shows Sita the beautiful Mandakini river, filled with flowers and wildlife. He invites her to bathe with him. Comparing the river to the Sarayu, Rama expresses his delight in being with Sita and offers to stay in Chitrakuta with her rather than returning to Ayodhya or royalty. Rama and Sita are resting near a river when Lakshmana discovers an approaching army led by Bharata. Lakshmana informs Rama of the threat, but Rama orders him to investigate further before taking action. Lakshmana returns with news that Bharata is coming to kill them, and he vows to slay Bharata in revenge for past wrongs. Rama calms Lakshmana's anger and tells him to put aside his desire for battle, as Bharata has come bearing no ill will. Rama believes Bharata is seeking forgiveness and a way to return home, but Lakshmana is overcome with shame, thinking that Bharata is actually their father, Dasratha, in disguise. Bharata, anxious to find his brothers Rama and Lakshmana, sent troops to search the forest with Nishada. He then personally set out on foot with a large group of men and counselors to range every direction, about Izaneli set out on foot with a large group from Rama's asylum and rejoiced, deciding to proceed towards it accompanied by Guha. Bharata, son of Dakrata, arrives at Rama's abode in Chitrakuta. Accompanied by Satrughna, he is overjoyed to see that Rama, the rightful king, has taken up a life of asceticism in the forest, exiled from his kingdom. Bharata breaks down in tears, lamenting the misfortune that has befallen his brother, who Rama interrogates Bharata about his father's kingdom and governance, asking various questions about the administration of Ayodhya, including the treatment of subjects, brahmanas, and warriors. Rama also inquires about Bharata's counselors, servants, and the kingdom's defense systems, ultimately seeking to determine if Bharata has effectively taken over as Epses. Bharata, son of Kaikeyi, asks Rama about his exile and pleads with him to return to Ayodhya's king. However, Rama explains that he cannot act against his father's orders and must complete his 4 year exile in Dandaka. Bharata falls at Rama's feet, entreating him to accept the kingdom, but Rama refuses. Bharata tells Rama that morality doesn't apply to him since he is younger than Rama. He urges Rama to return to Ayodhya and assume the throne, honoring their ancestors' legacy. Bharata had previously offered water to their father's spirit with Satrughna, but Rama is still needed to pay his respects. Here is a concise summary of Tasa's words. Rama collapses after hearing about his father's death. He regains consciousness and pecuniary rights on the banks of the Mandakini river with his brother's help. The people, including the army, rush to the scene, causing a massive uproar as they arrive to pay their respects to Rama, and Vasishtha, accompanied by the wives of Dashratha, approached Rama's hermitage. Kaukalya, seeing an Ingudi Pinda offered to Rama's father, was overcome with emotion and cried out in distress. The mothers of Rama, including Sumitra, fainted upon seeing their son, but were comforted by his touch. Bharata then arrived, bowed to Rama, then Bharata consoles Rama, urging him to accept the kingdom and rule wisely, comparing it to a mighty tree that can't be moved by a dwarf. Rama rejects Bharata's words, explaining that life is short and unpredictable and death is inevitable. He advises Bharata to be happy for his release from his worn-out body and to follow his own noble. Bharata tries to persuade Rama not to go to the forest, citing his own virtues and abilities as a leader. He appeals to Rama's sense of duty and morality, emphasizing that he is the rightful ruler and should govern the kingdom. Despite Bharata's heartfelt entreaties, Rama remains firm in his decision, causing mixed emotions among people present. Shatrughna exhorts Bharata to claim his rightful throne and free their father, Rama, from his promise to banish him. He reminds Bharata that their mother had requested this boon for him and their brother's exile as part of her marriage dowry. Shatrughna encouraged Bharata to become king with Satrughna's support. Here is a concise summary of Chasavar's Javali. A Brahmana advises Rama to abandon his ascetic life and claim the Ayodhya throne. He argues that attachment to family and property is illusory as relations are temporary and people ultimately die alone. Javali urges Rama to accept the monarchy, citing the importance of living in the present moment. Rama refuses Javali's suggestion to abandon his vow of exile, insisting on upholding truth and righteousness. He argues that his character is defined by his adherence to scriptural principles, not by external actions or appearances. Rama declares his commitment to the path of truth, which he believes will lead him to a virtuous life and ultimate salvation. Vasishtha tells Rama that he can return to Ayodhya because Javali's warning was just a test. Vasishtha then recites the genealogy of the Raghu dynasty from Ikshvaku, the first king of Ayodhya, to Rama himself, emphasizing the importance of the eldest son inheriting the throne and upholding the moral traditions of their ancestors. Vasishtha advises Rama on his duty to protect his relatives and courtiers virtuously. Rama refuses Bharata's offer to take over as king, determined to follow his father's but his brother. The brothers agree to return after years and reclaim the throne. The Maharshis and other saints praise Rama's virtues, urging Bharata to accept Rama's decision to exile himself. Bharata begs Rama not to leave, but Rama assures him that he will return after choosing to exile himself. Bharata parts with tears in his eyes. Bharata visits ascetic Bharadwaja, who praises Rama's decision to leave him the throne. Bharata recounts how Rama gave him his sandals, which will allow him to rule the kingdom. After visiting Bharadwaja and taking his leave, Bharata returns to Ayodhya with a heavy heart, mourning the absence of his father and mother. Bharata arrives in Ayodhya, finding it dark and gloomy with the usual sounds of joy and celebration absent. He expresses his sorrow at Rama's exile, noting that the city has lost its beauty and charm without him. Bharata enters the residence of his father, Dashratha, who is now deceased, and mourns his loss, overcome by grief. Bharata vows to govern Ayodhya until Rama returns. Using his sandals as a symbol of authority, he installs the sandals and assumes responsibility for the kingdom, donning the role of an ascetic while awaiting Rama's return to reclaim his duties. The ascetics in Chitrakuta are anxious due to the presence of Rakshasas led by Khara, who have been harassing and killing them. A patriarchal ascetic advises Rama to leave with him to another location, but Rama decides to stay, reassuring the remaining ascetics that he will protect them. Rama, Sita and Lakshmana arrive at Atri's asylum, where they are received by the sage and his wife Anasuya. Rama introduces Sita to Anasuya, who advises her on the importance of following righteousness and being a devoted wife. Sita narrates her story to Anasuya, describing how she was won by Rama through a self-choice ceremony. She recounts her life with her father, Janaka, and her marriage to Rama. After hearing Sita's story, Anasuya is delighted and presents Sita with gifts, asking her to return to Rama. Anasuya, a female ascetic, meets Sita, the wife of Rama. Anasuya is impressed by Sita's devotion to her husband and instructs her being one's husband. Sita recounts her story of how she was won by Rimban bow in a self-choice ceremony where he bent the divine bow and of the right to marry